What does RBI actually do?
The RBI is the controller of the entire payment system in the country, and that's a very, very major role. Payment system, I think that's where the RBI has done a great job in terms of the whole launching this UPI, the digital payment systems.
You help turn a finance company into a bank.
When you convert into a bank, you're dealing with public money, and the RBI is very, very concerned on the depositors' interest. That's been the fundamental aim of RBI. Protecting depositors' interest is the fundamental aim of the central bank.
Here's one habit which our country needs to develop is to be more time bound.
Because some of these countries which have progressed, the discipline, you go to Japan, Singapore, Taiwan, the discipline which starts from the younger generation, I think that's lacking in India.
Mr. Trump, his hikes and tariffs and all that, do you think it's a long term thing or just on the surface?
There's going to be short-term disruption and surely, but long-term, I don't think it's that. We had the SBI chairman yesterday giving a statement saying that it's not going to impact much.
Is India going in the right direction as in terms of all the economic decisions which have been taken?
10 years back, how many startups we had in this country? 500. Today, this year, we have 1.6 lakhs.
Wow.
So that's a huge, and we are the biggest startup country in the world after US and China.
Namaskaram. From RBI boardrooms to cricket pitches, from writing rules for banks to writing about biryani, today's guest has lived it all. Meet Mr. Ravi Duvvuru, a man who has shaped banking laws, advised global governments, helped transform entire banks and still finds time to play cricket and explore the world through food and travel. If you think finance is boring, wait till you hear how cricket, biryani and billion-dollar decisions all connect. This is Who's on Air with Kamlksh Shetty, and today we are diving into money rules, leadership and life, all from someone who's seen it from the very top. Yes, Mr. Ravi, thank you so much for being on the show. How are you, sir?
Thank you so much for having me over. I'm fine.
All the way from Hyderabad, we managed to grab you and bring you here. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
See, Mr. Ravi, you worked with RBI and other big financial groups. Can you tell us about one big decision you were part of? And do you ever feel it could have been done differently?
Well, strangely, all big decisions which the RBI has taken was after I left the RBI, because when I joined the RBI, it was at a middle management level. And I was working mainly in the regional offices, whereas all the policy decisions happen out of Bombay.
Okay.
But I was a part of important work done by the RBI in terms of supervisory actions, etc. But after I left RBI, I was a part of a number of their committees. So the decision of RBI to shift from risk-based to a risk-based supervision, for example, was a very major decision. So I was a part of the committee which recommended how to rate banks there. Now I'm a part of a committee which is called the Regulatory Review Authority Advisory Group. In the last 2 years, people of economics, students would know that there are a lot of relaxations RBI made in regulations, making life easier for compliance for regulated entities. So I was a part of that. But apart from the RBI, I was working in a number of organizations, both local and MNCs. So we took a lot of major decisions. By the time I moved up to a senior management role, and we did, like, for example, the merger of banks or a bank converting from an NBFC to a bank. When do we actually go for initial public offer, the listing of the bank? So you're part of all those decisions. Not that I have taken them individually, but it's a group of people who take those individually. So there are a number of major decisions you're a part of. But for the second part of your question, to say, would you have done differently? My philosophy in life is never look back. You have done something, at no point in looking back and saying, okay, could I have done differently? There are always learnings. Could I use technology better? Could I have done it in 2 weeks instead of 3 weeks? Yes, those things are there. But fundamentally, the process you followed is sound. Any big decisions any organization takes is a lot of debate, a lot of consultations, discussions between a set of group of people, external legal advisors, etc. And you take a considered call and you go about doing it. I would like to, with your permission, give a small example. Recently, we had Kapil Dev addressing us.
Okay.
So we asked Kapil in 1983 World Cup final, what was your plan B? So he says, what are you talking about plan B? There's no plan B. When you go there, you go there out to win the match. And there's no concept of failure there. So you have to win it. So don't talk to me about plan B. So that's how we work. That's how I work throughout my life, to say, okay, we have to get it right the first time.
Okay. Just to understand, what does RBI actually do?
So the RBI, many of you might have seen that, there's a currency note where the governor promises to pay the bearer that sum. There's a trust which RBI gives, except the 1 rupee note where the ministry does it. The RBI does a lot of things which general public may not be aware. First, of course, it is the currency note, issuer of currency notes.
Okay.
Second is, it is a monetary policy authority. So in India, if you see, there are two economic drivers. One is economic policy, the monetary policy. Second is the fiscal policy.
Okay.
The fiscal policy is your budget, your union government, taxes, receipts, etc. Whereas the monetary policy is from the RBI. So what does RBI do? RBI looks at how do we have a stable growth without high inflation. So it does what is recently the governor announced, the last monetary policy. So it controls interest rates through announcements it gives on its repo rates, etc. I don't want to get into too technical, but the rate which you pay on your housing loan, or the rate interest you get on your investments or savings, those are all determined by what rate the RBI sets. So that's a very major part of RBI. The third is the regulatory and supervisory aspect. So I'm investing in a bank because I know that somebody like the RBI is regulating them. So my money is safe. So they regulate the banks, they lay down sound policies on how the bank should function. Then their inspectors come every year to check that you're following the rules or no. That's a very important part of RBI. Payment system, I think that's where the RBI has done a great job in terms of the whole launching this UPI, the digital payment system. So RBI is the controller of the entire payment system in the country, and that's a very, very major role. Foreign exchange management, to ensure that the rupee is stable, that our reserves are used properly. Today, India is our third largest foreign exchange reserves. So steadily build up those. So you buy gold when you think the prices are favorable. You build up those reserves. You sort of diversify your investment in various currencies. So you have a sound forex reserves. You can use it for a rainy day. So that third part is the whole foreign exchange management which you do. And finally, I think RBI is very different from other central banks of the world.
Okay.
Because RBI plays a huge developmental role. So in India, if you see, a lot of people compare India to other countries, but they are forgetting that RBI played a very important developmental role. The whole agriculture credit area, the cooperative banks, the whole strengthening of the cooperative bank system, the financial inclusion which they've done, the Jandar accounts, etc. So the development part of RBI is another aspect which RBI plays. So the multiple roles which RBI plays, it's not just limited to issuing the currency note.
We probably are one of the few countries, or one of the country which has digital payment which is on the top, right? Is RBI responsible for that?
Yes, of course. RBI set up the NPCI, the National Payments Council.
Okay.
So that took a lead, and the initial people are from the RBI, and that took the lead in setting up this whole UPI and the digital payment structure. Not just that, but if you look at your money transfers, your RTGS, your IMPS transfers, is all done at the best of RBI. They are the people who recognized very early. In fact, I'll again give a very interesting example. There's a friend of mine who lives in New Zealand. He came to drop his mother in Coimbatore, and he went to polish his shoes. So he stopped by a roadside cobbler, and when he polished his shoes and he asked him, he said 50 rupees. When he's taking out cash, he gave him a QR code and said, "Sir, please scan and give me." He said, "I felt like an idiot because I didn't have that." So he says, "You guys are so advanced in digital payments, and that's all thanks to RBI."
So RBI takes the credit for that.
Yes.
And
Rightly so.
who manages RBI? Is the government involved in it?
The RBI is managed by its own independent central board. So the governor, the deputy governors, the government has a representation in the board. So the RBI is managed by its own board. Of course, any central bank, not just the RBI, has to align itself with the government policies.
Okay.
So they work in very close tandem with the government, but they're independent authority.
Because I think news are published, okay, RBI is doing this, RBI is doing that. How does a common man understand what is actually going behind the scenes?
A common man should not understand what's going behind the scenes. It only will complicate things. But I think from a common man perspective, I mean, we should not get too technical into this. What bothers him is, okay, is RBI reducing the rates? Is RBI increasing the rates? Is RBI managing the rupee properly for me? How does it impact me tomorrow? I mean, for example, one of the major focus of RBI is now customer grievance redressal. Okay. So if I have a problem with a bank or any other entity like NBFC, how do I take care of my complaints? Is RBI following a process there? So he should be bothered about those. He need not get into the whole economic policy and what's the impact there on the economy, etc. But stuff which affect him on a day-to-day basis, I think that's very clear. I would recommend your viewers to look at the RBI site. It's very clear, very fundamental, very simple way they explain things.
So you said RBI is addressing the grievances of many people today. Is there any way to kind of connect with them?
Yes, they have a scheme called the Banking Ombudsman Scheme. So if you have a problem with your bank and you feel the bank has not addressed your complaint properly, even after taking it with the highest authority on the bank, then you can write to the Banking Ombudsman, and the Banking Ombudsman is the RBI person. In all offices they are there. And he will address your complaint. He will call the bank. He'll try and understand their perspective. He'll get both the parties together and he will try and help the customer resolve his grievances. So RBI has also started one more initiative. It's called the Internal Ombudsman.
Okay.
Internal Ombudsman. Oh. So the Banking Ombudsman is a RBI person. The Internal Ombudsman is somebody within the bank. External person appointed by the bank. So supposing you write to your bank and your bank rejects your complaint saying, no, it's not valid. I'm not going to pay you these charges. Then they have to necessarily refer it to this person called internal ombudsman, who is an external person. He's not from the bank. He's an external person appointed by the bank. He will examine whether the bank was justified in rejecting your complaint. And still, if you're not happy with what decision he has taken, then it goes to the RBI ombudsman. So I think I would say one of the major initiatives taken by RBI during the last few years is addressing customer complaints.
Okay, that's a very good sign.
Yes.
What's one mistake you often see banks or companies make when it comes to following rules?
That's a tough one. But I think one mistake I've seen from my experience is what I call following the tick box approach.
Okay.
So whether it's a corporate or the financial institution, they will see a regulation and they'll just say, okay, fine. For example, let's say you should have a policy that protects customers' interests somewhere. You can have a checklist saying, okay, I have a policy done. I have complied with it. That's a big mistake. You'll have to actually get into the processes and the systems to see how it is working at the ground level. If you don't do that, then you may meet what I always call the letter of regulation versus the spirit of regulation. You may meet the letter of regulation by saying, okay, I have conveyed it. I've sent a circular, so I've tick boxed. But actually whether it's implemented at working at the ground level, that you're not seeing. So I think that's the biggest mistakes most companies and financial entities do, the tick box approach.
You helped turn a finance company into a bank. That sounds tough. Was there a time during that change where you had to make a really hard choice?
Not really tough in that sense because I always keep saying the game is the same. At the end of it, you're lending. Some finance companies don't accept deposit, but others do. The rules of the game are different. So they're far more stringent on compliance, regulation, risk management. Because now here, when you convert into a bank, you're dealing with public money,
Okay.
and RBI is very, very concerned on the depositors' interest. That's been the fundamental aim of RBI. When we joined RBI, we were told that protecting depositors' interest is a fundamental aim of the central bank.
Okay.
So, if you ask me what was the toughest choice I had was when we converted in my last role India's largest MFA and BFC into a bank. My challenge for me was what do I do with the people, right? I mean, ultimately, in any of these things, you see, heart of the core of it is the people.
Mm-hmm.
So, do I get people across the board from banks and put them in the branches, or do you train the existing people and make them become bankers? That was a hard choice I had to make. So finally, I sort of had to do a mix and match. So I didn't want to lose the core people who worked so long for the organization, who had excellent customer relationship. So we got in some experienced bankers, and also the majority of the people were existing people who have now become experienced bankers. So that's the approach we follow.
Do you think the rule in India today helps new companies grow? Or do they sometimes make things harder to start up also?
I think
Because a lot of international companies, MNCs also, when they're coming in, they're a little worried about the kind of rules we set in India.
So I would say both ways. If you take in, if you look at any regulation, I mean, principally, if you take capital market SEBI,
Mm-hmm.
or if you take RBI, or if you take the IRDA, the insurance regulator, the aim is to ensure there's system stability.
Okay.
Right? All the while they've been working. Now, if you ask me how has the central bank shifted its stance from depositor protection to stability of the financial system, all central banks went through that after the 2008 financial crisis. So the rules do help in terms of stabilizing this environment. Now, for example, if you look at what happened after the crisis, the kind of stuff which regulations which RBI brought in, COVID time is a great example of what regulations RBI brought in. They strengthened the system.
Mm-hmm.
The small investor protection by SEBI again is strengthening the system. So in that way, it is good. The challenge in India, like in all other things, I'm not just talking the financial sector, but is the implementation. So that's where people do face challenges. Now, for example, GST is a great idea, right? And it has streamlined tax collections to a large extent. But the compliances are quite huge. So the challenge is how do you sort of make rules which protect the system versus promoting individual innovation. Now, there are examples in other countries as to how to do it. But again, India is a very complex thing. So,
is it because of the population?
Because of not just the population, but you just take, for example, just take the banking sector. Your public sector bank, your state bank, your public sector banks, your private sector banks, your foreign banks, your cooperative banks, your regional rural banks, right? So in other countries, it's not like that. It's a very simple structure. So when you're making a rule, I need to see how do I cover all of them? How do you ensure there's uniformity across the various entities I regulate? Whereas in other countries, it's a much simpler way. So it's unfair to compare our regulation or the role of RBI with other countries. A lot of times people say, oh, in this country it is like this, we are like this. The rules are complex because we also have to remember that we are a prescriptive regime.
Okay.
Whereas in most advanced economies, it is not a prescriptive regime.
What does that mean?
It's called principle based.
Okay.
So I lay down the broad principles, and within that you operate. We have been discussing a lot on this. At one point, RBI was to move to the principle-based regulation, then the financial crisis hit, and that's the prescriptive regulation is what saved India.
Okay.
Right.
So it has its own benefits.
It has its own benefits, but yes, we need to see how do we promote innovation without curbing the enthusiasm, without compromising on the stability of the system.
Mhm.
Another way countries do is what they call as a sandbox. The sandbox is you sort of say, okay, fine, you want to launch a new product which is not tested, and I don't know how it will work out. I don't know what are the concerns I have. So you give them a very safe environment and say, okay, you launch a product, but within a very limited sort of a way to test your product. Now, if I see there's no system impact negative on this, then I'll frame rules. So I often tell people when they compare India versus other countries in terms of regulation, I say India we build a dam and then we allow the water to come in. Whereas in other countries they slowly allow the water to come in slowly and then build the dam. So that's a classic difference.
You almost answered my next question, but let me ask you again. You have worked both in India and like in international, along with the international regulators also. What's one big difference you've seen how they think and work?
So as I said, unfair to compare because the systems are different, the financial sector is different. But I see the one big difference is what I told you. Abroad, they're more principle based, whereas India, we're very prescriptive.
So, is the leadership thinking differently now? Are we going somewhere the international way?
We are. If you look at it, if you read the recent statement, one is if you must take a clue from the finance minister's budget speech, where she spoke about deregulation as a major theme, right? And the ministry has started its own work. From a regulated entities, the RBI governor's statement recently, where he's formed a core team to look at all regulations and challenge them as to why these regulations are there. Can we make this better? I think that approach is coming. And another major difference which I saw earlier was overseas it's a more consultative approach, right? I mean, before you put up any regulation, you talk to the industry, you put it on your website, you take the comments of people, then you come out with your final thing. Now, if you have seen recently, over the last year or two, RBI is again following the same path. It's become very consultative. It puts its draft. Suddenly, it's not going to issue a circular and say tomorrow onwards this is not effective, but it is inviting people to participate in their debate, and then it comes out with a final regulation after hearing all parties. So that consultative approach has come in now.
So you say this is probably one of the smart rules which India can adopt soon.
Yes, India has adopted.
It
has adopted.
Any
but
habit
whether, but principle based, it's in the process of going there.
Or any habit we should kind of take it from the West?
I think in the West, when I was working in other countries, it was, finally, you know where you're going to. You're very sure, right? I mean, I know, okay, the regulation says, 3 weeks, you're going to get this. I'm sure it's going to happen, right? So promptness which they respond. For example, it's a simple example. In Singapore, when we asked for a carpenter to come in, and we said 10 o'clock, 10 a.m., I can set my watch. 10 a.m. is there. But when we moved to Bangalore, when we asked the carpenter 10, it could be 10 p.m. So it's so flexible, so you can come anytime in between. And so I think you're very sure where you're going, and you can plan ahead in a sense, okay, this is where it is. And a lot of countries also say, okay, the next 5 years, this is going to be my regulatory approach, right? In terms of you can see this coming in the next 5 years. So I can plan myself in terms of that.
So I think here's one habit which our country needs to develop is to be more time bound, more disciplined on the time, which will probably settle down things across.
I think across, if you look at discipline is a big thing. I always say that, we should teach right from school days. Because some of these countries which have progressed, the discipline, you go to Japan or Singapore or Taiwan, I was there recently, the discipline which starts from the younger generation, I think that's lacking in India.
And that should start from early schooling itself.
Yes, I would say right from kindergarten.
And how can that be implemented? We're just diversing, but I want to understand this thing. How should that be implemented?
No, I think it should be a mandatory thing. Like when we were kids, we used to have sessions on moral science. We'd actually pass exams on moral science. What is right, what is wrong. I don't know whether that's still there. But I think it should be made part of the curriculum. Like you can't, simple things, you can't go and put a paper in on the road. You need to go to the environment, for example, is a big thing, right? So how do you protect the environment? So bribery and corruption is not right. So these have to be taught as a part of curriculum in school and in colleges. Unless you, and the consequences of not following that, how does it harm us?
I think there are some changes coming in slowly into the education, but I think as a country, with the new generation coming in, a lot of things have to be put in a very smart way. That's my personal feel.
The younger Gen Z or whatever you call them, I think digital is the only way. It has to be led through the digital revolution.
It's happening. Let's hope it gets
is
better.
Happening in a lot of things. I hope these aspects also happen.
This is one personal question. You worked in many big roles, but was there ever a moment when you felt lost, scared, or unsure?
Whenever I feel lost, scared, unsure, I call my wife, and she
makes you
make sure that I'm not. But honestly, not really, because the moment when you're in a position where at that level you're taking critical decisions, I mean, there's no scope for you to be lost or unsure. If the moment you're lost or unsure, then you'll fail. And I've learned from leaders. I worked with great leaders like, Aditya Puri, Uday Kotak, Anand Mahindra. I mean, they're great leaders. They always made sure that, you have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in what you're doing. The moment you're scared, why should I be scared? As long as I'm doing the right thing. I'm not violating anything. And I know the end use is going to be beneficial to the customer. I was never scared or lost.
How do you kind of get that habit in you of being more firm? As you said, you have people whom we worked along, like Mr. Mahindra and all these people. One trait which people have to develop to get this kind of leadership quality?
I think if you ask me, one trait which we all need and is humility.
Okay.
All the great leaders I have worked with are so humble. And I have examples like I had a chance to interact with Ratan Tata when he was on the board of the RBI. And I'll tell you an example. When there was a meeting, RBI board meeting, and I was taking him down the elevator. And the elevator went, it was an old type of elevator, it went 2 inches below. So I was really upset because I don't know how we'll react. You know what he said? He looked at me and he put his hand on the belt and said, Ravi, I think I should hit the gym more often. And he flew his own aircraft. The Taj Group sent a Mercedes car, I think, those days, and the Reserve Bank sent an ambassador car as per the government rules. But he said, where is the RBI car? And he came in that RBI car. So that's humility. Then I would quote another example. Dr. Manmohan Singh was governor of the RBI, and he came to Assam, and I received him and along with the management team, and we had to go for a dinner with the chief minister and the governor. And I was in the car along with the protocol officer, and we dropped him at the Raj Bhavan, and we were waiting in the car. After 10 minutes, he came out and said, where are you? I said, we wait for you, sir. He said, no, you must come and have dinner with me. Why are you waiting in the car? And it was so embarrassing. We were in this dinner with the governor and the chief minister and the governor of the RBI and the finance minister. I didn't know what to do. So the humility is very, very... I'll tell you one other example which youngsters can relate to. Uh, there was everybody knows Satya Nadella,
Yes, yes.
right? But a lot of people don't know his father. Father is Mr. Uganda. Mr. Uganda was a senior IAS officer. He was the chief secretary of the Andhra state,
Okay.
and he was principal secretary. This incident relates to when he was a principal secretary of industries in Andhra Pradesh. I was in the foreign exchange department of the RBI, and those days, if you're going abroad, the youngsters don't know that, but you have to take a permission from RBI. There were $500 we used to give. And Mr. Uganda was traveling to visit his son, Satya, I think, was studying that time. So I was issuing the permits, and then I asked the peon, is there anybody left? He says, there's one person waiting outside. I said, please call him, we'll get the permit. I was shocked to see Mr. Uganda come in. And I know him because my father was in the government and they were colleagues. So I said, Uncle, how come you're come? He said, and you're a busy man. No, he says, no, I took leave today. I said, why? He said, I had to collect this permission. Then I said, but you could have sent your secretary with an authority letter. You would have given the permit, and that's a process which is approved. He said, no, for my personal work, why should I send my secretary? Then I said, you could have sent me your business card. He said, yes, I could have, but I saw 6 other people waiting in front of me. So if I had sent my business card, you would have called me first, and that's not fair to them. That's humility. And those are the lessons which are there, which I imbibed in me, and I try and follow.
That's a superpower, humility.
Yes.
Your love for food and travel, if you had to explain your job over dinner, what dish would you serve and why?
I'm from Hyderabad, so definitely a biryani. Why a biryani? It's the whole textures, layers which make up a roll.
Okay.
You have the rice, which is the base,
Okay.
right? Which holds everything together. Then you have the spice masala, which is cooked in. So it's up to you. It's sort of how do you make it spicy, bland, or you have to correlate to that. Then you have the main ingredient, the lamb or the chicken or whatever meat you're putting in, which is the main ingredient, and you have to ensure that that is proper. Then you put in a dum. So I make my biryanis in a dum cooked. So to seal everything together properly, and everything is blended perfectly. And then finally you garnish, with your dry fruits or your fried onions, etc. So to make it appealing. So if you ask my job compared to a dish, I would say ideal way is a biryani.
Okay. Because it has to be layered with...
Yes, it is layered, it has different texture. Anything can go wrong with one component. If something goes wrong with one component, then the whole dish gets spoiled.
Okay, so they have to be very careful when you prepare a biryani.
Yes.
And you add a lot of love in it.
Yes, I say always cook with love.
So that's one part of you which is there, and I hear that you're coming up with the cookbook also. We are looking forward
I'm in the initial stages of planning the book.
Oh, then that's lovely. So food is one passion you have. Also looks like cricket, which you played professionally. What's one lesson from cricket that helped you in your job and life?
I would say the one lesson which cricket taught me is team is everything.
Okay.
You're only a player in the team. The moment you think you're out of the team, in a sense you're bigger than the team, then you fail. So my always I used to put the team in front of me. And I used to play according to the team's requirements. Sometimes you have to be aggressive. Sometimes you have to just hold one end to ensure that some other person is hitting, so at least one end is held, right? And I was an all-rounder, so when I bowl, I have to see what does the team need. Can I take risks? Can I not? Or my job is to contain the batsman, or my job is to get them out. So the cricket has taught me how important it is to be a part of the team. And I always say my success, whatever has been, is not because of me, is because of the great teams I have worked with.
That's very humble. Imagine Indian banking is a cricket team. What would be your role? And who would be the star player to watch out for?
Oh, okay. I'm an all-rounder, as I told you.
Yeah.
I would be a bat who would stay for a long time.
Okay.
Okay, so Indian banking is resilient.
Mm.
The bank has to survive over a long period of time. No shortcuts there. So it is like a test match. It's not a T20. Like my former boss Uday Kotak used to say that we are in a marathon, not a 100-meter sprint. So that's very important. Uh, Second, when I bowl, I like to ensure that I bowl to contain the batsman.
Okay.
I don't take unnecessary risks, don't give them loose balls, right? I try and contain them. When I field, I have to ensure that I hold the ball, it doesn't go to the boundary. So compliance and risk, I need to ensure that they're not going beyond that. So my role in cricket team compared to banking is that I'm an all-rounder to ensure steady growth, to ensure all risks are contained, and ensure there are no loose derivatives. But one player, you asked me about one star player. I would say in a banking parlance, it's liquidity, right? So you ensure that when the going is steady, the liquidity is there. That's the most important thing for a bank. Then you can lend, the economy will grow. But when the liquidity dries up, then all challenges happen. So it's like Virat Kohli, right? When Virat Kohli is in the middle and is playing his shots as number 3 and is holding up one hand, then everything rest is very easy, it falls. But if Virat Kohli gets out early, then the middle order collapses, then it becomes very difficult. So I would compare it Virat Kohli to liquidity. So you need to keep it going steady space so the system is there. Having said that, I would be afraid if somebody like Siraj is bowling at me, because I would not, as a banker, like swings this way, that way without knowing where it's going, or a bouncer which is going above my head.
Wow, what a way you put this together. That's amazing. Coming to, is India going in the right direction as in terms of all the economic decisions which have been taken?
I think so because if you look at where the economy is now, we are the 4th largest economy, and very shortly we're going to be the 3rd largest economy.
We are aiming at 10 trillion.
Yes. More than the numbers, it's the depth of the economy.
Okay.
Now, any external event in earlier days would have meant that India had got into problem. But now we see that external shocks are not impacting the economy. So it may impact the economy by a few basis points, but we have become a resilient economy. Our domestic economy, and one of the things we have started, like, Make in India, the gender financial inclusion. So these are all starting fruit. I mean, people now are seeing the fruits of that, encouraging manufacturing in the country, encouraging, the talent in the country. Startups, interesting says 10 years back, how many startups we had in this country? 500. Today, this year, we have 1.6 lakhs.
Wow.
So that's a huge, and we are the biggest startup country in the world after US and China. So Bangalore ranks 14th all over the world. So in top 20, we have Bangalore, Hyderabad, Mumbai. So I think we are going in the right direction. But having said, our inflation is reasonably controlled. We are the fastest growing economy. In the big economies, we grow more than 6%. Having said, and our reserves, as I said, is large. We have to keep a watch out, of course. Since a lot of dependents are there. Fortunately, we are not so external-led economy. Like if something happens to the dollar tomorrow, my economy will collapse. No. But we also have to see that, tomorrow if the monsoon fails, what are the challenges we're going to have? Tomorrow if the crude prices suddenly shoot up, a lot of our economic recovery depends on that. So those are unknown factors which can come and hit any economy. But I think overall, our economy has been resilient, and I think it's going in the right direction. The focus we are having last few years on infrastructure development, for example. See the number of airports we have, the number of connectivity we have, the digital progress we have done. I think we are going in the right direction.
Very nice. But then there are untoward calls which come from international known people, stronger people. I'm referring to Mr. Trump, his hikes and tariffs and all that. Do you think it's a long-term thing? It's just on the surface, and how do we tackle it?
I really don't know what's going to be the strategy there, but I'm sure the government
We
would
are ready
be
to tackle it.
the government would be talking, negotiations will be going on. But it's not that it's going to, this one factor is going to sort of bring down the economy badly. I think we have other markets to explore. We have strengths in some of those products. There's going to be short-term disruption and pain, surely, but long-term, I don't think it's that. We had the SBI chairman yesterday giving a statement saying that it's not going to impact much. The most pessimist economists are saying maybe a 0.5, 0.5 impact if it continues. But I'm sure the government will, we have a set of competent people there in the government who must be working out some solutions.
Good. That sounds so good for us as countrymen. Now, coming to the young people, and this probably might be my last question. Many young people today want fast success, side hustles, and freedom. What advice would you give Gen Z? I've spoken about the minute about money, career, and building a strong future.
See, money will come to you. So I would say one single advice of money: burn when you earn.
Okay.
Don't burn when you don't earn. Because I've seen number of Gen Zs, they leverage very heavily. Once they get a job, then they go into mortgage loan, they go into car loan, they do some risky investment. So don't burn your money without earning it first. Second is you have to invest wisely. So again, I find a lot of youngsters spending as if there's no tomorrow. So you have to believe you have to save. There's a rainy day going to be out there. A lot of people lost jobs in the tech sector, for example. So if they burnt all their money, what are they going to do? So you have to invest wisely from the early stage. Third is trust. You have to earn trust. So so that's why I'm saying it's like a tripod. Any other tripod goes off, you're falling down. So you need to have the necessary skills to build your career. You have to earn money. Earn money, but not for short term, for long term. Second is you need to invest that money wisely. And third is you need to build trust. People have to recognize you for what you are. Right? Titles, designations, all this will come. There's a follow-up. And once you have the trust and you have the asset backing and the skills, freedom will come automatically. So it's not that, I need freedom to operate the way I do, but you have to realize that you're bound by a certain framework, right? And if you let go of that and say, okay, freedom for freedom's sake, it can bring in disaster. So you have to be, as I said, tripod, you have to be careful on that. So my advice to Gen Z is, again, as I said, don't look at it as a T20. Look at it as a test match. Build like a middle order batsman, like say Pujara. Just build your innings. Once you build your innings and set up a base, then you can play your shots. There's no problem. So that base has to be built.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ravi. I mean, from the cricket pitch to putting it in such a beautiful way to the food dishes which you mentioned, it's all going to go a long way. Any book would you recommend for people to read on these questions which I asked you?
No, I would say the book which I've been influenced from a leadership perspective is a book called To Serve with Love.
Okay.
It's been made into a movie called, the actor called Sidney Poitier. Okay. I don't know whether youngsters would know that, but the book is still available, and I'm sure the movie will be available on YouTube or Netflix. So it talks about situations as how to deal with situations not in the routine way.
Okay.
Right? So, for example, he was teaching a classroom of students and they were not listening to him.
Okay.
So they were, typical sort of misbehaving and not bothered and all. So then he tries to, he gets frustrated, But then he goes back and says, okay, how can I make this different? Am I doing this wrong? Let me think outside the box. Then he says, okay, I need to understand them better. And he starts trying to understand them better, and mold is teaching in that. And I always tell my people, think outside the box. Always think outside the box. There's a solution for everything. That's a great. And then there's another book called Good to Great. There are lots of leadership books. Lee Iacocca's autobiography is again a great thing which has influenced me. So some of these books I would recommend the youngsters to read it. Digital age, they can read it on Kindle or they can read it on the hard copy. But I think these are great books to read.
Thank you. Thank you once more, Mr.
Thanks
Ravi.
a lot. It's been a pleasure being with you.
It's a pleasure here also. And thank you for taking time and being with us.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. So that was Mr. Ravi. From cricket fields to corporate deals. Dr. Ravi just proved, from cricket fields to corporate deals, Mr. Ravi just proved that rules don't limit you. They guide you to play the long game in life. If you get even one idea today that made you think differently about your career, your money, or your future, share this with the friend who needs to hear it. Trust me, they will thank you later, because RBI is something I didn't know. I learned it here, and there are some rules which you can take on from here and how our country is heading to. This was Who's on Air with Kamlksh Shetty, where real people, real stories are there to help you win your game. So make sure that you like, share, subscribe, and be here with us, and allow us to bring in some great guests the moment you subscribe. Thank you.